And we are live. Okay, everybody. So today, presentation we're going over is part 6, group 6. So today we're going over what is the best way to actually measure a nation's development. Is it income or is it quality of life? And I'm just going to turn on my stopwatch so we can begin. So Income or Quality of Life by me, Thomas Liggio. Let's get started. So before we can answer that question of what is better, income, can you see my hands? Probably not. Before we can see income, quality of life, we have to go over some definitions, some basic definitions for you guys, okay? So the first definition is the gross domestic product. Before we get into this, I just want to go over this real quick. As you guys can see right here, we got our leader of the Fed, Jerome Powell, printing some money like he does past 2020, 2021. Okay, so let's get into it, guys. We have the gross domestic product, or the GDP of a nation. So a nation's level of economic development affects all aspects of businesses. All businesses are producing products, services, and all these this data goes into the GDP. So like I've been saying, one measure that frequently measures or is frequently used by economists, is the GDP, gross domestic product. This, as you can see right here, is the total monetary or market value of all the finished goods and services produced within a country's border in a specific period of time. So this is probably, or most likely, an annual data. You could use 2022, 2021, compare those data, go year over year. So it's usually an annual number, okay, guys? Cool. So this is pretty much the scorecard of a country's economic health. So this GDP number tells you what an economy is doing. Are they going up? Are they going down? When you compare the numbers year over year, quarter over quarter, it tells you it's the economic scorecard. It's a scorecard. It tells us how healthy an economy is. So, however, while the GDP is used for that, it's just an overall broad measurement. It does not measure flows or foreign income and investments in and out of a nation adequately. So this would be like investments, dividends, things like that. So that is the gross domestic product. The second term we have is the gross national income, or the GNI. The GNI is the more commonly used basis for assessing economic development and growth. So this is the total value of all the income generated by residents of a nation. So all the wages, all the money that a nation's people made, let's say the United States, they made this much money, that's the GNI. Let's say their GNI is here. Let's say a country like Italy, their people made this much. This is where they sit on the GNI scale. So this is the total value of all income generated by the residents of a nation. Cool? Got it. So you got GDP and you got GNI. Two definitions we're going over now. So to measure the size of an economy, guys, this is what is used. GNI measures the total value of all the income generated by the residents of a nation. This includes both the domestic product of goods and services, and this is also the income generated from places abroad, mainly through dividends and interest payments, like I said before. Cool. So, like I've been saying before, as like per capita as well. Per capita is Latin for per head, per person. So GNI per capita is the gross national income per person. So you average all the people in, you get the GNI per capita, per person. That's how economists frequently measure the size of an economy. So the next term we're going to go over, besides GDP, GNI, economic growth rate. So data like GNI and gross domestic product per capita, they just paint a small picture, right? They're just pieces of the puzzle to figuring out what an economy is actually doing, okay? However, GNI, GDP, they don't tell us the full story. While they only paint a picture, they don't tell us everything we have to know or need to know. So with that, Okay, guys, some technical difficulties. Sorry about that. So, as I was saying, per capita, GNI, GDP, they don't paint the full picture. They just tell us a story. They don't tell us the full picture. They don't give us all the information we need. It's just data points, guys. Data points in referencing to get the big picture. Okay, cool. So, most managers supplement just looking at the data with looking at the economic growth rate, okay? This is to see how fast an economy is growing or shrinking. If an economy is growing at around 1% a year, slowly but surely, they're growing. If they're going down 1% a year, they're going down, The growth rate determines how fast, or not how fast, but how much an economy is growing by. Is it 5%? Is it 20%? Is it negative 5%? So you can see if we're going in the right direction or we're going in the wrong direction. Okay, so yeah, like you can see here, managers use this to see how fast an economy is growing and shrinking. This is used when managers want to see if they're going to get into a new country. They want to check out all the data plus the growth rate. So for an example, you could see that emerging and developing countries, so these are countries in India or areas in India, Middle East, Southeastern Asia, all these countries, the developing nations, this is unlike the United States, most places in North America, Europe, Australia. These countries, the developing nations, grew 2 to 3 times faster than developed nations like America, like Canada, like Europe. This implies consumer demand is likely to increase as well. So if their nations, if their economy is growing 2 to 3 times faster than ours, you could tell that they're getting more money. The people of that nation, economic activity is moving. There's people trying to go there to get these people to work. They probably have cheaper wages, which means more international companies are coming to these areas rather than staying in America where you have to pay the workers more. Their economic activity is going. This means that in the future, consumer demand is likely to increase as well. So this gets us into the next point of private consumption / disposable income. Okay? So disposable income, this is another area of interest that economists are looking at when you want to see if you want to move into a place or not. So after tax personal income, this is used after you pay your taxes to the government. You use your purchases, you have the rest of your money, right? This is your disposable income after you got your rent, your food, your taxes. The rest of the money you have, guys, this is used to purchase whatever you want. Video games. In America, I'm just talking about video games, cars, designer clothes, like you can see Gucci and Louis. You get cars if you want. It's whatever you want to spend with your money. This is your disposable income. So this is the purchase of non-essential plus essential goods as well. Okay? So if more people have more disposable income, what does that mean? What does that imply? They're spending more of their money on things that are not needs but wants. We could see that a nation's economy is doing pretty good, right? They're doing all right if people are buying Gucci, going on boats, buying drinks, buying Ferraris. The nation is doing pretty well. Cool. So we got disposable income is just another area of interest where these managers are looking for. Cool. So disposable income. Nice. So this is getting us into our next point. What is the best way to measure a nation's development? This is the question that we went or trying to answer from the beginning, right? What is the best way to measure a nation's development? Is it income on this side, or is it quality of life? That is the question. That is the question we want to answer. So is it income or is it quality of life? So should the primary focus be on economic factors such as GNI, such as GDP, growth rate, disposable income? These are very important data metrics to international business, but they don't paint the full picture like we've said earlier. Okay, guys? There are other factors or indicators that we should consider. If there's a question mark there, and I say yes, there definitely are. Cool. third intermission. We're back. So, like I was saying, the answer very not crystal clear into the minds. We can't just pull one answer right away and say income, the data is more important than the quality of life. The answer is not that clear, guys, okay? So, until recently, economists have used solely economic data such as the gross domestic product, the gross national income per head, per person, right? This tells us about the development and growth or decline of a nation. So the data is used to tell us the shape of the economy. Are we going up? Are we going down? Are we not going at all? How's the nation doing? The data is used for that. Disposable income as well. However, these figures don't capture what we actually want to know. We want to know what's better, income or quality of life. Because of this, we don't truly know which metric is actually the best to determine the overall success of the nation. So, looking at the first approach when we're going back and forth, income, quality of life, the first approach is to obviously focus on the economy, right? Focusing on the economy, we want to see the numbers. This is what the economists are doing. These are what the boys on Wall Street are doing as well. They're looking at the data. They're forward looking. They want to see what's going to happen in the future. Obviously, they're using the data, right? Cool. So this shows what a nation's peoples are producing with the GDP, thus what they are earning with the GNI, and able to consume. Falls right back into all three categories, disposable income, right? These are the cold, hard numbers that show growth or decline. With the growth rates, we could see clearly, are we going up? Are we going down? The data is the data, but the data doesn't paint the whole picture. That's what we're trying to get to. So the second approach, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a deeper dive into the look of all the people within a nation. We're not looking at the numbers and the income and the distribution of wealth in a nation. We're looking at the people. This is the human approach, guys. This is the approach that takes a closer look at people and the choices and options open to them for a healthy, fulfilling life. This is like mental health. We want to see how healthy a nation is, not based on income, not based on economic activity and data. This takes a look at people, the freedoms they have, the choices that they have to or to not do, and these are the options that are available to them. I can tell you right now, in the United States of America, we're pretty lucky. We live in the best country by far. We have the option or the choice to do whatever we want. We could say whatever we want, and that's just a great thing. That's why I got the flag behind me. America is the best place to be, and I'm lucky to be living here. Other places don't have it that good, though. Governments suppress what you could watch on TV. It's just not a good thing. They force you to do whatever they want you to do. I wouldn't want to be living there. So the second approach takes a look at the people, how free they are, their choices, options, what they do for a healthy life, okay? So next we're going to be talking about the UNDP. What is human development, okay? United Nations Development Program is the acronym, or that the acronym is United States Development Program. So this program suggests that there's a human needs approach that includes many different aspects within finding that question, not data, but quality of life. Okay? So this suggests human needs approach that includes many different aspects. So these are the three main points that we're looking at. This is what the UNDP is looking at when they're talking about human development. Development of the person, not of the income, not of the data, or the economic data, I should say. Excuse me, I just need some water. I'm talking for a long time up here. So the 3 points we're going to talk about are reducing poverty, reducing unemployment, and the inequality and distribution of income, okay? That's what the UNDP describes as human development. We could reduce poverty, get people out from the poverty line, if we could get them jobs, and if we could get the 1% and everybody else, can you see that? If we get the 1% and everybody else a little closer to half, Okay, guys, so as I was saying, if we could reduce poverty, if we could get people employed, and if we could separate that 1% from the rest of the people and make that gap as close to half and half as possible, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. So, the human needs approach, the reduction of poverty, I'd say also means less illiteracy, less malnutrition, less disease, less early deaths of younger people, making the life expectancy, as we talked about earlier, rise. Less illiteracy, more people could read, have an education. Less malnutrition, more people could eat food and have access to food like we do here in America. Other countries don't have it as good, guys, so we got to be lucky. We're blessed. So, with all this taken into account, we could also say that this is a shift from agricultural, nomadic. This is a shift from the farms trying to just wake up, grow your food, figure out what you're about to eat for the day, and we move on to what we did in the Industrial Revolution. Industrial products, which ultimately lead to service-based economic activity, which is what countries like we're doing now in America. So instead of staying on the farm all day, figuring about what you're going to eat, hoping you can make food, now we're growing industries, we're making factories, and then today we have service-based economic activity like Uber, DoorDash. This is all service-based stuff. So that's the goal, and these guys have to get from the farms and move through that. They have to flow through this chart right here, as you can see, from agricultural to industrial production, and then later on service-based growth. So we could talk about the UNDP's Human Development Index, or the HDI. So the UNDP, they have a scale. This scale measures human development in various different countries, and this is based on these three elements in order. I don't know if you guys could see my there it is, country, or map of the country, or of the world, excuse me. So the HDI, this is a scale that measures the human development in various countries in this specific order. That's important. So 1, a long and healthy life measured by life expectancy. More people are living older or dying when they're older, that number is going to rise. Only way you can do that is by fixing the things we talked about before. Less illiteracy, less poverty, things like that. Number 2, the ability to acquire knowledge, to get an education. This is measured by adult literacy. This is measured by a nation's, their people's education level, right? If they could read or not. Literacy. And finally, the third point that they talk about on the HDI scale is the access to resources needed for a decent standard of living. This is the kind of stuff that's measured by the GNI, the gross national income, the GDP. This is all the numbers per capita, per person. That is number 3 on the scale. So, as you guys can see, number 1 and 2, more important than number 3, right? A long and healthy life and the ability to acquire knowledge. This stuff is more important than the GNI, the GDP. That's what the UNDP is trying to argue. The economists, they're talking about one thing. Human development is a completely different other thing. So the HEI, this advocates for more economic achievement rather than numbers and rather than the data, the growth. Cool. So, final thoughts that we have before I leave you guys. So, you guys got through all of my information. We went through the data. We went through what the UNDP talks about. So, you guys can come to your own conclusion, right? Right. So, finally, both income and quality of life, they have their positives, they have their negatives, but both are truly needed to gauge the activity of a nation around the globe. It's not like you could have one without the other. It's a yin and the yang. They're pieces to the puzzle to find what we're ultimately looking for, right? They're just pieces. Not one can't be better than the other. You need. Okay, guys. with that being said, we can come to our own conclusions. I know you guys can as well. This is what I have to say about it. If you guys want to listen to me, you can. So finally, both income on this side, quality of life on this side, they have their positives, they have their negatives, but at the end of the day, they're both truly needed to gauge the activity of a nation around the whole globe. It's a yin and a yang here, guys. They're both pieces to the same puzzle. Without this, you can't complete the puzzle. You need both of them together. You need the data, but you also need a great quality of life as well. So, with that being said, both have their benefits and their weaknesses, but once you put them all together, just like a puzzle, just like the yin and the yang, this information together, this shit could be, or excuse me for my language, this stuff could be used as a lethal combination to find the actual state of the data you're trying to find. When you put both income and quality of life together, you could find the real well-being, you could find the real economic data of a nation. Okay, guys? So before I let you guys go, if we were in class, I would have had this video played for you. It's just a little crash course on economics, international business, you guys already know, income and wealth inequality. So I'm not going to play this for you guys now. But yeah, it's here. With that being said, yep, we got it. With that being said, that is my presentation on the question that everybody wants to know. That question being, what is the best way to measure a nation's development? Income or quality of life? Now you guys have the answer. Go, tell your friends, tell your parents, you need both of them. And that's the presentation.